You're right on time for Hope TV News Watch on this 26th day of September 2023. I hope you've had an awesome day tonight. On News Watch, I'll be hosting the outgoing Sita Mngong Senior Pastor, Bishop Ken Kimiwe, who is on a transition to overseas. You don't want to miss the discussion as we talk about managing transitions. A very good evening to you and welcome to the broadcast. My name is Kennedy Kimani and my co-presenter on the sign language interpretation tonight is Boniface Moredi. A former Malusi Hospital social worker Fred Leperon is staring at a sentence of 30 years after being convicted of the offense of child trafficking. Leperon and his co-accused Selina Adundo, also a social worker, were convicted of child trafficking and negligence after an exclusive report exposed them 2 years ago. In his mitigation today before Milimani Senior Principal Magistrate Esther Kimilu, Leperon, through lawyers Danson Omari and Martina Swiga, said he is a first-time offender and prayed for a non-custodial sentence. Swiga said the court should consider his rehabilitation and restoration of justice. Omari, on behalf of the convict, gave sincere apologies to the victims who are now 3 years old. Moving on, and in a bid to intensify the war against grafts in the country, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has today launched its Strategic Plan 2023-2028, which provides the strategies to be implemented by the anti-graft body to address the challenge of corruption and unethical practices bedeviling the country. Speaking during the launch, EACC CEO Twalib Mubarak called for the empowerment of bodies charged with fighting graft in the country. On his part, EACC Chairperson Dr. David Oginde has warned the corruption networks against trying to find loopholes in the Commission's 5-year strategic plan. Our very own Gloria Musimbi with more on the story.
In a bid to combat corruption in the country, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has today launched a new strategic plan which will act as a guide in the execution of the Commission's mandate. The strategic plan seeks to effectively deter and punish corruption and unethical practices, promote ethics and integrity, and improve institutional accountability in public and private sectors. Speaking during the launch, EACC CEO Twalib Mubarak noted that to counter corruption, as a country, the political culture must change, the public must change its tokenism culture, and the institutions that we have must be strengthened.
Public must change its culture. There was a time in this country where citizens decided to arrest policemen taking bribes. It was a short-term instinct, but it happened, and policemen refused to take bribes along the roads. Today, they take it in the open, and even if they look at you and you have no problem, they'll tell you, mzee, hauna kitu kidogo tu uniangalie.
Speaking during the launch, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who presided the launch, urged members of the public to develop a culture to slam corruption and support EACC on the war against graft.
The better agenda if corruption is allowed to thrive. Both the national and county governments bear the consequences of corruption. The war against corruption is about strengthening governance systems in both levels of government in order to seal corruption loopholes and resource leakages.
Following the reported 721 cases for prosecution, tracing and recovering stolen assets worth 44.3 billion and averting a loss of 34.5 billion of public funds, Auditor General Nancy Gathungu has pledged to support and collaborate with EACC in the fight against illicit financing and implementation of the plan.
Affects trust in government, which in turn undermines governance and democracy. Indeed, it has contributed to the slow progress towards the attainment of our National Development Plan, Vision 2030, and the prioritized agenda of the various administrations. And if we are not careful, we might not achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The Office of the Auditor General is a critical pillar in the national integrity system, and in discharging my mandate, I play a critical role in combating and preventing corruption, as my work promotes sound financial management and accountable and transparent government.
On his part, EACC Chair Dr. David Oginde challenged religious leaders to teach congregants and members of the public on the seriousness of unethical behavior and stealing of resources.
I want to call upon my fellow religious community members, some of who are here, from whichever religion you come, to take a deliberate focus on teaching our members, whether on Sunday or Friday, or Saturday or whichever day you meet, on the seriousness of unethical behavior and especially stealing our resources.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has highlighted the widespread issue of forgery of academic certificates in the country. The Commission is now calling for stronger background checks by employers, internal controls by universities, and adherence to established standards by learning institutions.
What we would ask Kenyans, which I did during my speech there, is let's forget about these shortcuts, getting rich quickly, getting certificates for which you don't qualify, because all those things are going to get you into trouble. Just recently, we had to take a lady, who had got a job, worked for 15 years with a fake certificate. Now, the consequence of that is that we are not only going to prosecute her for the crime of forging a certificate, but she has to refund all the salary that she got for those 15 years. So it puts her into a very difficult situation. Why get yourself there when you could actually go to school, get your certificate, get your job at an appropriate time, and live your life as a good citizen of this country?
Reporting for OpTV Newswatch, I'm Gloria Musimbi.
Thank you so much, Gloria, for that report. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is investigating over 150 cases of forgery of academic certificates held by persons serving in the public service, while 13 cases are pending before the courts. In some cases, accused persons have been jailed or fined, while in others, the EACC has been granted orders by the court to recover all the salaries and benefits earned based on forged academic certificates. During the launch of the Commission's 2023-2028 strategic plan in Nairobi, the anti-graft agency highlighted the widespread issue of forgery of academic certificates and called for stronger background checks by employers, internal controls by universities, and adherence to established standards by learning institutions.
We have set a bold strategic goal to eradicate corruption and to promote high standards of integrity and ethics in our country. Whereas this may sound idealistic, it is set against a backdrop of several factors. I'll mention just a few because of time. One is because the aspiration of Kenyans is to have a corruption-free and ethical society, and is clearly reflected in our Constitution, where a whole chapter is dedicated to seeking that we live an ethical, transparent, and accountable life. So Kenyans expect no less. And we who have been given this responsibility in EACC, we want to take up that challenge and want to do our best to get rid of corruption from this country. That's why our goal, strategic goal, is to eradicate, not just reduce corruption. It may take a while. Like CEO has said, it moves like the hand of the clock, the hour hand of the clock, but the hour hand of the clock moves, even if you don't see it moving. And eventually, the evening tide will come, and then the dawn will arise in this country.
The launch of the strategic plan 2023-2028 by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission underscores our collective commitment and resolve to root out the cancer of corruption that threatens the very fabric of our society. So we have added another name to corruption. This strategic plan is not just a roadmap, but a beacon of hope for millions of Kenyans who yearn for a nation founded on values and principles of transparency, accountability, and integrity, as articulated in Article 10 and Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Moving on, the National Assembly Deputy Majority Leader Owen Baya said that the government remains committed to lowering the high cost of living that has adversely affected the lives of Kenyans, despite the high taxation that has pushed up the cost of basic commodities. Speaking during the launching of the study report on experiences from MSMEs and informal traders from Nairobi City County, Baya has called on government officials to avoid unnecessary spending that has resulted in wastage of the taxpayers' money. Here's our very own Grace Ahati with the details.
National Assembly Deputy Majority Leader Owen Baya has assured Kenyans that the government will deliver its promise of lowering the cost of living despite the harsh times being experienced currently. Speaking during the launch of the study report on experiences from MSMEs and informal traders from Nairobi City County, Baya has noted that eventually the various mechanisms put in place by the government to address the crisis will be fruitful.
As we spend money on fertilizer, spend money on many other things, the cost of living eventually will come down. So we are looking at the continuum. At the end, we will peak and go down and ensure that the cost of living is actually reduced. So I'm not worried about the cost of living at all. We are putting mechanisms in place to ensure that eventually Kenyans realize what we promised them as Kenya Kwanza, and we will get there.
Baya has at the same time called upon the government to urgently address the issue of accountability and making good use of the taxes being collected to improve service delivery to the Kenyans.
Watu hawajibike katika matumizi ya ushuru ambao wanachukua kutoka kwa wananchi. Wananchi wanafanya bidii, wanatoa pesa zao kwa serikali kupitia kwa ushuru, lakini wale ambao wamepewa majukumu ya kuhakikisha kwamba huu ushuru unatumika vizuri kusaidia wananchi, wanabwaga wananchi. Kwa hiyo mimi kauli mbiu yangu ni kwamba ushuru ni haki wananchi kulipa ushuru na ni jukumu lao kulipa ushuru, lakini jukumu zaidi ni wale ambao wanapewa pesa na wananchi wazitumie vizuri, na hizi pesa wanazopata zipatie huduma bora wananchi, ili wananchi asije tena atumie pesa yake kwa mfuko.
The Kilifi North MP has further urged the Kenya Revenue Authority KRA to ensure the country has an efficient tax collection system to maximize on their revenue collections and adherence to the tax laws put in place.
And I want to urge KRA to ensure we have a more efficient tax collection system which is not militarized. I don't like this idea that now we have a whole battalion of paramilitary going to collect taxes. You don't succeed that way, and we have seen it. We have seen that in countries where people don't have a choice, they don't enjoy paying taxes, they will not give you taxes.
On her part, the Institute for Social Accountability TISA National Coordinator Diana Gishengo has exuded confidence that the government will be able to address the various issues surrounding the country's economy, taxation, as well as its public finance and debt management.
We believe that government is open to listening and making the necessary reforms within this particular crisis of the economy and taxation, and the injustice being meted both on the informal sector and the formal sector is an opportunity for genuine reforms about how we work on our public finance management, not just the taxation, but also the debt, the institutions that are there.
According to the study, there is a need to make tax laws simpler to improve compliance, reduce the cost of compliance, and enhance tax justice for MSMEs, youth, and women entrepreneurs in the informal sector. Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Grace Ahati.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Grace Ahati, for the report. Now, in a bid to help male teachers understand menstruation as a normal bodily function that occurs as part of a woman's monthly cycle, Nairobi Women Hospital Young African Women Initiative are teaching male teachers drawn from public primary schools in Nakuru County about menstrual hygiene and health. The program, rolled out through Nairobi Women Hospital Gender Violence Recovery Center, is majorly concerned with empowering male teachers to fight menstrual stigma against female pupils and promote menstrual hygiene and health. Alice Diana with more.
As a way of ensuring male teachers are able to help the girl child experience menstrual period without feeling intimidated or ashamed, Nairobi Women Hospital, in collaboration with Young African Women Initiative YAWI, are training over 50 male teachers drawn from public primary schools in Nakuru County about menstrual health and hygiene, how to come up with period-friendly facilities using locally available materials, and proper waste disposal options. According to YAWI Executive Director Fidelis Wamboi, the move to educate male teachers is aimed at fighting the myth that men should remain ignorant about menstruation and provide them with the right information. She noted that the strategy of engaging and putting male teachers in the forefront to challenge the taboos around menstruation health creates a safe school environment for young girls.
GVLC Nairobi Women's is with us today and sharing that information to teachers and the purpose to escalate that information or to trickle down that information to take it into schools at the schools level, whereby now children be reached out and be educated on gender-based violence, how it happens, and the forms of gender-based violence, so that they are able to identify the forms of gender-based violence and they can be able to report from home, at school, and we realize that we also make sure that they do not violate the rights of other people because of the gender of the other person.
Lawrence Kamau, a teacher at St. John's Primary School, observed that despite their exclusion from discussions on menstrual health and hygiene, male teachers and boys can play a crucial role in providing psychosocial support to girls and women.
We're also creating awareness that as male teachers we can also come in and also help in creating awareness among the girls. Having knowledge, she's going to know who to talk to, where to go, and even how to prevent infection on herself. So the more she's aware, the better equipped she is. Boys should also be aware because we are having girls at home, we are having girls in a church setup, in a community setup. So boys will also come in and help in creating awareness and also embracing the girl child even in our community.
According to the United Nations, 1 in 10 African schoolgirls misses school during their menstruation, and many of them, studies show, have ended up dropping out of school altogether after lagging behind month in, month out. Milkanjeri, a teacher at St. Saviour's Primary School, indicated that fighting against all forms of violence, including harmful practices that contribute to child abuse and school dropouts, will ensure boys and girls' retention rate in schools remains constant.
A male teacher is also a teacher at large. He is teaching both the boys and the girls. And some of these topics, they're even handling them in the class. So let's create the environment where even a male teacher can be able to talk to girls because it's the right thing to do. Or rather, I love to see a girl who can be able to talk to everyone about the menses, and a girl who is not ashamed of what she's going through after every 28 days. Parents should come on board. They should remember their girls should always be neat. The girls should always be provided with those sanitary towels. And again, they should remember it's their first, or it's their role to make sure that they understand the body themselves. They educate them, they expose them, they accept them.
Alice Diana, Hope TV News Watch.
Thank you, Alice, for the story. A motion seeking the removal of besieged Nyamira Governor Amos Nyaribo from office has been tabled before the County Assembly. Efforts by some leaders from the Gusii region to find an amicable solution to the issues raised by Nyamira members of County Assembly have flopped. The governor had over the weekend welcomed a call by religious leaders to mediate between him and the MCAs, saying he was ready for the talks with the local lawmakers. Some 24 out of the 34 MCAs of Nyamira County Assembly signed the impeachment motion last Thursday, validated their signatures with the clerk and vowed not to turn back.
I now wish to give a notice of motion to consider, debate and approve a motion for removal of the governor, His Excellency Amos Nyaribo, from office of County Governor, Nyamira County, pursuant to Article 181, 1A, B, and C of the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, Section 33 of the County Government Act.
We've done our mandate according to Article 181 of the Kenyan Constitution 2010, which sets out the grounds for removal of a governor from office, which includes violation of the Constitution, abuse of office, or misconduct. So we've put all the grounds there for the whole world to see. We've laid our evidence, documentary evidence. We have witnesses who will help us build our case. So we are not doing this because of personal reasons with the governor, or we are not pushed from any quarter to do this. This is out of our own conscience as leaders, elected leaders.
Let's now get down to business. National Bank of Kenya has launched the National Business Forum, an initiative aimed at empowering the small and medium enterprises in the country. The bank is partnering with the leadership group and Ashitiva LLP to offer the member-based initiative that seeks to support business leaders to sustainably grow their organizations through capacity building and provide access to a network of experienced business leaders and to financial resources required to transform their respective businesses. Here's our very own Melissa Oduor with that story.
The National Business Forum is a member-based initiative launched thanks to a strategic partnership between the National Bank of Kenya NBK, the Leadership Group and Ashitiva LLP. Speaking at the launch of the initiative, National Bank of Kenya Managing Director George Odhiambo said through the strategic partnership, NBK will give access to financing and financial advisory services. Ashitiva LLP will extend access to business and legal advisory services, while the Leadership Group will provide training and development for SMEs so as to address the hurdles that inhibit businesses from operating optimally and transitioning to higher levels sustainably.
Well, the forum will be very exciting. We are taking feedback already. This will be quarterly, and it can be as frequent as monthly because we are trying to have a hybrid of it. There will be webinars that can be done virtually, and they'll also be there in person like this forum. Many people learn in different ways, so we want to provide that opportunity. We realize that some of our business people are not able to travel to a central place, so we'll be providing that for them as well. We've partnered with people who will be supporting us to make this possible in the space of technology, connectivity, and also in just organization of the events. So Future Forum will look a lot more different than you see today. This is a bit more organized, it's a short time. There'll be breakout sessions for people in similar areas to come and compare notes.
Odhiambo emphasized the bank's unwavering commitment to supporting SMEs and nurturing the entrepreneurial spirit in Kenya. He said the National Business Forum is a significant step towards achieving this goal and driving economic growth and development in Kenya.
What this means for us and to the customers is that we have a new level of partnership. And the learning starts from here, as it has always been. And our intention is to then increase capabilities of the customers as we improve our capacity to be able to serve them better. We realize that many businesses face nearly similar challenges. They may be different businesses, but our choice of partners will tell you what we are trying to achieve. Business growth and sustainability is anchored on leadership. And this leadership is not just about being a boss of so many people. How we lead ourselves into what we do is anchored also on knowledge. How much do we know about what we are planning to do? We try to provide that forum for business people to come together and learn together. Ours is initiation, facilitation of the same. In future conversations, we'll be taking a backseat and be having customers talk to themselves. Our future speakers will come from the same business pool that we are coming together with as we begin the journey.
The forum has embraced a leadership and business acumen development model that aims to equip the SMEs with the essential resources to becoming resilient. This includes mentorship, capacity building, leadership, and growth for entrepreneurs, all designed to foster sustainable growth and enable them to scale their businesses tenfold within the next 5 years.
SMEs are very imitative enterprises. You heard of the quill business? When someone starts and there's a story going around that someone is making money, everybody wants to do that. We want to open up the innovativeness, the creativity space for these businesses. So the SMEs sometimes can do better with more knowledge, understanding that what the world will need in the next 2-3 years is what they need to focus on. Sometimes we focus on what the world needed last 2 years. By the time we perfect knowledge of it, it is gone, it's not required. So the wisdom of therefore is the application of that knowledge in the correct way. How then do you get that knowledge, then apply it correctly?
For Hope TV News Watch, I'm Melissa Oduor.
And to some sporting action now, Harambee Starlets have today made history after defeating Cameroon's indomitable Lionesses 4-3 in post-match penalties to qualify for the second round of the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. South Korea-based attacker Cynthia Shilowatso came off the bench to score in the 75th minute to hand Kenya a historic 1-0 win over Cameroon in the second leg of the first round match played at Nyayo Stadium. The goal saw Starlets tie the scores at 1-1 aggregate after having lost 1-0 away in Cameroon last week on Friday. Now on that note, it's time for a quick breather here on Newswatch, but after the break, we get straight into the exclusive interview with the outgoing Sept Ngong Senior Pastor, Bishop Ken Kimiwe.
In order to keep hope alive in the airwaves, Hope Media has a couple of initiatives. Friends of Hope. Friends of Hope is you and I forming a team of well-wishers and volunteers who give in cash and kind to support in spreading the gospel at Hope Media. Currently, Hope Media is running a campaign under Friends of Hope dubbed 100 for 1. Through the campaign, Hope Media is asking Hope FM and Hope TV listeners and viewers to give just 100 shillings in order to reach one more soul with the message of hope and the gospel. Engage with us on our social media platforms at Hope FM Live and at Hope TV Kenya. Kuwa rafiki mso leo.
Treasure Hunt.
Treasure Hunt on Hope TV.
We bring you great content for boys and girls in this new season of Treasure Hunt.
Kisha tashimba shambani.
In Proverbs and Ecclesiastics, he is our wisdom. In Songs of Solomon, he is our lover and bridegroom. Yay!
Treasure Hunt, Saturdays at 9 a.m. only on Hope TV.
I've actually been trying to find a balance. It's been really tough and hectic, but everyone says once you get a hang of it, it becomes better, and I don't know, but I'm hoping to find a balance soon because it's really been hectic. But you've been in the job industry for a long time, so I think you would know better. Sindio?
Huh? What time is it? I need to catch up on Leadership Forum. Do they have a radio here? Never mind. I brought my own.
No way. You can't be serious. Wait, why do you have a radio and you can just catch up with the shows on Hope FM podcasts?
Really? Even Meet of the One?
Yeah. I mean, you can find them on whatever platform, name it. AfriPods, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it.
But I'm not subscribed on any of them.
So no worries. You can just check out the latest episodes on hopemediakenya.org.
You can now listen to select Hope FM programs on your favorite podcast streaming platform or directly on our website www.hopemediakenya.org. Listen and live.
Je, ushawahi kuweka jambo kwenye mizani? Ushawahi kupata uzito wake? Haya basi, usitapetape zaidi. Naomba unigande, maana mizani ipo hapa kwa ajili yako.
Vyakula na mbegu za kitamaduni.
Na kutuliza fikra na kukuwezesha kupima masuala ibuka katika jamii. Tena kwa busara. Tukutane mizani kila Ijumaa saa 1 machweo kwenye runinga ya Hope TV.
The Asian community in Kenya has been nationally recognized as the 44th tribe of the people of this great nation.
For me, God is real in Christianity. I talk to Him, He talks to me. I fail, He forgives me.
When I first read the first book of Genesis, it gave me an orderly sense of accounts of creation. Day 1 is what He does. Day 2, He creates this. Day 3.
Every third Thursday of the month, we bring you Asia Testify,
where we will be listening to life-transforming stories of Asian believers who have walked with the Lord. Only here on Hope TV. Look and live.
Watu wa Mungu, be the vocalist hapa. And I'm just here to give you a testament. I am a living testimony of the slogan of Hope FM, where they say, listen and live. I am such a serious testimony and a testament to that, a statement, because they have impacted my life big time. And imagine ile kitu wanauliza ni ati, the way they have impacted my life and your life. tunaweza jaribu pia tu spread hii kitu mpaka huko mashinani, to spread hii word ya God huko mashinani. And the only thing they're requesting us to do is just contribute 100 bob. We just become partners with them. Na unapatana tu na bob moja. Lakini pia kama una feel uko philanthropic sana, unaweza piga jil 2, tuende hivyo, eh? All right? And so they are calling it 100 for 1, where you just give out 100 bob and they can reach out to another soul. And of course mnauliza, okay, tuko na iso tunatuma wapi? Iso tunatuma via M-Pesa na tuko na P-bill number. P-bill number yetu ni 933 933. Alafu hapo kwa account name, alright? Andika tu FOH, yani Friends of Hope. Alafu tuma ile kitu natuma. Hapo mbele ni pin number yako na ni siri yako. Alafu tu ushamaliza hii kitu. Click on the send. Na imagine utakuwa umefanya kitu moja serious sana. We as Hope Media tutakuwa tumereach out to one soul. God bless you. Be there.
Welcome back. You're watching Hope TV News Watch. Now, as earlier stated, tonight I'll be hosting the outgoing senior pastor of Sept, that is Bishop Ken Kimiwe, who is transiting to overseas to continue his calling in ministry. Karibu sana, Bishop, to the studio.
Asante, my joy and pleasure.
All right. Yes. Now, before you tell us more about your transition, and for the sake of our viewers, please tell us about yourself. Who is Bishop Ken Kimiwe?
Bishop Ken Kimiwe is a simple guy. I'm married to Joy for the last 31 years. The Lord has blessed us with 2 lovely grown-up children now, John Mark and Wendy. I have a passion for ministry. I've been a pastor now for the last close to 30 years in Sitam. And I just want to thank God for the privilege and opportunity to minister to his people and to be part of the growth that Sitam has experienced over that 30 years.
All right, tell us more about your family.
My family, we as I said already, we are the 4 of us. I have a daughter who is grown up and working. She's employed and doing her own career in the banking sector. I also have a son who has trained as a creative. And he's also building up his own career and finding his own way. He's now a freelancer, but I'm hoping one of these days he can get into something more regular, something more constant, yes.
The reason I've told you to tell us more about your family is because we see a lot of families struggling. And the question is, do pastors really struggle with their family and marriage?
Oh, yeah. You see, families are family, whether they are pastors' families or not pastors' families. We experience life like everybody else. If the shilling is going up, it's going up for both the families of pastors and non-family pastors. And so we find ourselves still able to struggle with the issues of school fees, or times also when it comes to communication in the home, probably there are misunderstandings, raising up children, also trying to manage family affairs. I think these are things that any family goes through. And I want to suggest here that even the pastor's family has also its own seasons and experiences, just like every other. Yes.
You know, you're a role model to many people. And when people see you right now, they see you are self-made, you are all accomplished. But please tell us more about your journey to being the successful man of God that you are right now.
It's a journey that started way back. I must say, having been brought up in a Christian home, both my parents were Christians. They introduced me to the Christian faith at a very tender age. And so when I got to 13 years, I actually gave my life to the Lord. And I think giving my life to the Lord at that very tender age exposed me to a disciplined life, a life whereby, you know, I lived in a way that I didn't go to many excesses. So when I went to secondary school, I was exposed to the Christian Union, and I grew up in, you know, matters of faith, whether it is through the Bible study or fellowships or prayer meetings, rallies, conventions, weekend challenges. And then, of course, after that, I went to college to train as a teacher. And again, where I went to train, we had a very strong Christian union. And I found myself continuing to grow and develop myself as a believer. And I believe at some point, also, I got the call of God at some point when I was now a teacher. I left my teaching profession and went into full-time ministry.
That was in the year?
That was way back in 1994. 1994. Yes. Yeah. I actually resigned from the Teachers Service Commission because I had felt the call of God over my life. And so I came to the senior pastor, who was then Reverend Dennis White, and he told me, you need to go to Bible college and train yourself and get yourself equipped for ministry. Yeah. And that is where my journey really with CITAM began, because in 1994 is when we were also beginning or planting the church at CITAM Woodley. And I was part of that church plant. When I was in Bible college, I was working like an associate pastor at that particular branch church. Yes.
All right. And I'm aware that you are an author. And with you is your book.
Right. Right over here.
Yes, I actually recently launched it. What is the book about?
The book is about mentorship. One of my passions is mentorship. I like to work with young people, emerging leaders, grow them up and give them exposure. And as a pastor over those 30 years or so, there are always young people around me. As I speak to you now in CITAM Gong, I've been working closely with about 8 young people, both ladies and gentlemen, because I believe in promoting both gender. And opportunity to give young people that privilege of finding their own route in life and also finding their passion and getting direction in terms of their career growth and growing their capacity, because there are many of us who sometimes struggle trying to get our way in life, and we just need somebody to get our hand and to walk with us through. And found myself doing that. And that is why I've written this book, The Mentorship. And I've called it The Missing Gem, because again, many people don't understand who can mentor me, what are the qualities I should look out for.
Sure.
And also the mentees themselves also need to know, as I walk with this person, what are some of the pitfalls, what are some of the boundaries I should set around myself. And for the mentor, how do you walk with somebody who is looking up to you to learn something and to learn a skill, a virtue out of you? Yeah. And so I've tried in this book to bring out the understanding of the principles and the power of mentorship.
Where can one find the book if one wants to purchase
the
it?
The books are available in CITAM Gong. They are also available here at Valley Road. If you just come to Valley Road at the reception, they'll be able to get you a copy for those who come from within these environs. I've also got some copies at CITAM Buruburu. And then also some other copies at CITAM Thika Road.
Thika Road.
I'm also working, hopefully by tomorrow, we shall be on Amazon. And so anybody can go online and get themselves a copy.
All right, great. Talking about mentorship, what's your perspective on Christian leadership?
Christian leadership, I look at it in 3 dimensions, in the sense that as we talk about Christian leadership or spiritual leadership, we should then look at Jesus Christ as our role model. And I see 3 perspectives of his type of leadership. Number 1 is the shepherd leadership, feeding the flock, guiding the flock, and protecting the flock. That is one dimension. And then the second dimension I look at in terms of spiritual or Christian leadership is that one of a steward leader, one who is in charge and who protects what God has given to them as a steward. And being able to safeguard the particular sheep or people that are under him. And also being accountable, not only to God, but to the people that you lead. Because there are many leaders, again, who are Christian leaders, and they are not accountable to anybody.
Sure.
And then thirdly, I believe also another dimension is what I call servant leadership. And the best person who brought us out into understanding the concept and the role modeling of servant leadership is Jesus himself. When he washes the feet of the disciples and tells them, if you want to be the top guy, you be the least. And what do? serve other people.
So,
and so I see Christian leadership from that dimension, the aspect of stewardship, the aspect of being a shepherd, and the aspect of being a servant leader.
A servant leader.
Yeah.
You've told me that you began your journey at CITAM in 1994.
Right.
If you were to rewind your time at CITAM, what do you think you will do differently?
Okay. I think what I would do differently, although I must say I don't want to pat myself on the back, I've done well because I've literally grown up in the system, learning from other people and also drawing resources from other ways of training. I would say one of the things that probably if I was given a second shot at is being able to equip myself earlier in the sense that as you grow as a leader, one of the things you want to do is to grow your capacity so that you are able then to guide others into places they have never been.
Sure.
And you need to have the competence of doing that. So the earlier you're able to train yourself and get yourself equipped, then you are able to work with other people. And also you're able to use every resource that is in you to add value to the ministry.
I'm sure there are many good memories that you've had while at CITAM. What is that? Just that one memorable moment that you've had?
Memories, I would say. I'm good in church planting, and every time I've done a church plant, and if I may reflect back, in 2006, the church asked me to go and do the church plant in Buruburu. And I'm telling you, I've never seen a church plant as effective and as productive as how we planted the church in Buruburu. From nothing, within a period of 2 months, we were clocking over 2,000 people plus, a full house. Again, it is a church that has continued to be very productive in terms of producing leaders who have become pastors in our ministry and even outside of CITAM. So I would say one of my highlights was planting the church at CITAM.
Buruburu. Great. I'm sure many viewers want to know this. You say that you are relocating to overseas, but where are you going to?
Okay, although that's a personal question, but since we are public people, I would want to say as I leave CITAM, I go to Texas, Houston, Texas, in the United States. My wife and I are relocating. We sense at this point in our lives and in the season that we are in, we have done what we could have done within the scope of CITAM. And as I said earlier, we started right from the very beginning as intern pastors. We have served as pastor. We have served as senior pastor for the last 20 years or so. And of course, up to the point where I was the deputy bishop of Christ is the Answer Ministry. So we feel we have gotten to the place where our capacity has come to the place where we need to grow ourselves beyond CITAM and basically looking at the global outreach. So we are going to be using the United States as a launch pad to go to Asia, to go to Europe, Latin America, Australia, or whichever other opportunities that God will avail. And the beauty about it is that when you have an American passport, it's a passport that can take you to many places that a Kenyan passport would not be able to. So we are looking at ourselves as missionaries, people who can go out there and do the work of God. But the three things that I'm looking at doing and continuing to do is mentor young emerging leaders, work with people who are trying to find their way into leadership and into ministry. Secondly, also growing by way of retooling and also equipping, empowering church ministers who are out there and have never gone through Bible college. I would want to do more training for such people. And then thirdly, the other thing I also see my wife and I doing, because she's a counseling psychologist, we want to work with the families by way of coaching them and also doing marriage therapy.
I know many people would like to know, are you starting a church in the US? What exactly is it? Are you planting a church?
As I said, one of my passions is church planting. And definitely if that opportunity would avail itself, I don't mind doing that. But use that as a base for going out to do ministry. I don't want to see myself bogged down with running a church. I want to see myself being equipped and being enabled by my local church to go out there and do ministry across the globe.
Why did you choose the US in particular?
As I said, you have the US passport, you can move far and wide. I think the environment there also needs to be ministered to. As I go as a missionary. Many of these Western world countries, although they brought us the gospel, but you will find that they have moved away from the gospel. And they have become very potential places for missions. So I see myself not going to the land of opportunities, but looking at the possibility of also reaching the people who brought us the gospel.
Because actually, we've seen cases of LGBTQ getting into churches in the US.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And many other things, which are not just sitting very well in as far as the biblical faith is concerned.
Sure. Back in our country, there's been a call to regulate churches following the Shakahola massacre. I don't know what's your take on that.
Shakahola, for every good thing, there's always a bad side of it.
Yeah.
And I think what has happened is, although there is the true gospel that brings life and that gives hope to people, that transforms lives, on the other side, we know the enemy, who is the one who works against the things of God, is trying to sabotage by bringing in false doctrine, false teachings, cults, and heresies. And definitely for those who don't find themselves taken into the right path, they fall victim to these other types of faiths, which are definitely detrimental. I would say, like now that the regulation has come in, I think it would be right for the church to regulate itself and ask and audit itself in terms of who are we? And are we doing our mission according to the scripture? Because all of us supposedly look at the Bible as our authority.
Sure.
And therefore we can come from that premise, which is a common premise, which is a common ground for everybody, and find out then, are we applying ourselves according to the scripture? If we are not, then we could put a mechanism in place where certain people can be rebuked and can be corrected so that we avoid these excesses of false teachings like what we had at Shakahola.
All right. You were actually making a joke before you went on air that you've escaped the high taxes in the country. And as a country, we've witnessed the rise in cost of living and the skyrocketing fuel prices. I mean, what's your word to Kenyans? How do they keep hope alive in this time?
I think when tough times come, they say the tough get going on. And for those of us who are believers, we have an opportunity to call on God to give us the strength and the capacity to live within these very tough times that we are in. And we need to continue to pray for our nation, because I don't think it is just Kenya that is going through this recession. I think these are backdrop or backlash of the COVID season that every one of us went through during the COVID season. And so as we try to recover ourselves and get back to our normal selves, I think we need to be patient and probably also downsize what we can downsize. The government should also try to regulate how much they are doing with the little that they have. So like in a home where if you know the budget is very tight, you tighten your belt. So they need to also tighten their belt in terms of how much they are consuming, how much debt they are bringing into the country, because again, we don't want to live a life that we cannot afford. I always believe in the principle of living within your means. Yeah, cut your coat according to your size.
All right. Now, Bishop, their transitions are never easy. And many people could be undergoing transitions right now, just as yourself. I mean, what's your word of advice to anyone who is maybe undergoing transition in any area of their life?
I would suggest 4 things. Number 1 is you need to have direction. And I'm going to put them in 4 Ds. Where are you headed to? What do you want to achieve? And that in itself gives you a proper perspective and a proper direction of what you want to do. And so if you're moving from stage A to stage B, you want to know, how do I do this? And how do I get there? So that direction, having vision, having purpose, really shapes your motivation and your commitment to that goal. And then secondly, I would say the second D is determination. And determination brings us to the place where we are saying there is nothing that comes easy. Not everything just comes on a silver platter. You'll have to work hard. You'll have to determine how you want to get to where you want to go. And you have to have the right frame of mind. And so you need to be determined that I'm going to make it. I'm going to move from this to what I want to be. There may be, again, a lot of things that could easily curtail or want to sabotage that purpose that you want to achieve. And so you have to be determined and avoid being sidetracked, which brings me to the third D, which is discipline. Avoid situations or people who may want to detour you from your course of life or from your moving from one thing into the next. And so you want to be very focused. You want to be very objective. How do I get where I want to go? And what are the things that I need to offload off my life that would deter me from getting to where I want to go? And then I think the fourth D, which is definitely obvious, depend on God.
Depend on
Yeah,
God.
don't just look at yourself and think that you have everything that it takes to move into life. The Bible says in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, if you read from verse 5 and 6, that in all your ways, do not lean on your own understanding. Acknowledge God, and He will make your paths straight.
So the direction, determination, discipline, and depend on God. Now, as you conclude, I'm sure you are a friend of hope.
Sure, I am.
What's your word to the Hope Media audience on the current Friends of Hope campaign, Rafiki Mso?
We should get on board. This is a great ministry that touches many lives, that has transformed many people. I have been part of this over the years that I've served with Christ is the Answer Ministries with questions and answers. I've also done other programs on church online. And also, I would want to suggest that if you want to leave, then you need to watch these programs and support it, because these are programs that need your resources. I would want to look at myself as a roaming ambassador now for these Friends of Hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
I believe this is going to be your last interview in the Kenyan soil before you fly to the US.
Most probably, because on Thursday I'll be out of here.
Yeah. So what's your parting shot?
My parting shot is let us fix our eyes on Jesus, who is the author and the perfecter of our faith. And the one who has begun the good work of faith in us, He will bring it to accomplishment. And so whatever else that you do in life, make sure that Christ is at the center of it, because again, He tells us that we can do all things through Him who strengthens us. He also guarantees us that He will never leave us, neither forsake us. So long as the presence of God is with you, you will reach your goal and you will have a fulfilled life.
All right. I hope this is not just a goodbye bite. I see you soon.
Definitely.
In the future.
We will come back home. This remains home for us. And so once in a while, we would want to come back and also be with our children who are not able to travel and be with us there.
Yeah.
And so I just want to thank God for the privilege and opportunity to have served with the Christ is the Answer Ministries, and also through, by extension, Hope Media, both on radio and TV. I think this has been a great privilege of just being able to impact lives far and wide beyond our limited space in our assemblies.
And many thanks to you for actually helping us understand how to manage transitions. And thank you so much for your time, and all the best to you and your family as you make this huge transition.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That has been Bishop Ken Kimiwe, the outgoing senior pastor of Sitam Ngonga. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Kennedy Kimani, and Boniface Murithi has been my co-presenter on the sign language interpretation.